Alton Towers has now reached its longest closed season in its entire 40-year history as a theme park, but many people are questioning how or if the park will reopen during 2020, and of course how they will make it safe for both guests and staff. This is Theme Park Realm, and today we are taking a look at how and when Merlin will reopen its theme parks. At the moment, of course, since the actual pandemic began, the park has been posting pretty much free monthly updates, and that's certainly for the case for Alton Towers. I'm not 100% sure about Thorpe Park, but almost free monthly updates they've been posting. However, in the latest update in May, they did confirm that only guests booked before and including the 3rd of July would need to take action on their booking. Now, at the moment, this would point towards a reopening on Saturday the 4th of July 2020, and this would of course mean that the resort would still have plenty of time to get ready for Scarefest, fireworks, and of course its brand new Oktoberfest as well. Although with those events it's still unclear whether they would be permitted or not. It just depends obviously on the situation at that point. At the moment, it is very clear that certainly Alton Towers are preparing for the worst. Obviously, they have already postponed the opening of the World of David Walliams at Alton Towers until next year. At this point, it could simply be that decision's been made from a profit and business point of view rather than anything else. Obviously, the amount of money that they will have lost during this operating season, they may not want to invest anything, obviously, for next year, which is understandable. And of course, is there really any point opening an attraction this year when the visitor numbers are probably still going to be quite low, even after the park does reopen for public use? So if the park does reopen on the 4th of July 2020, what can we expect? Well, based on some European parks, the rides will be operated completely differently. Some rides in the resort will actually probably be closed, depending on whether social distancing rules can be implemented on those rides. Now, of course, what we would expect, the first big difference that I'd certainly expect to see would be upon entry to the park. Of course, all the ticket sales now will be online only. It would not be possible to book at the gate at all. In addition, restrictions are also expected to be placed on annual passes, whereby holders will not be able to enter the park unless they have booked a date slot online first. Obviously, at the moment, if you've got an annual pass, you can go into the park pretty much whenever you want to, excluding Scarefest or fireworks. But once this change has been implemented, we're expecting to see annual pass holders having to book to actually visit the park. Obviously, it'd still be free, but they would just have to book in order to keep the visitor numbers in the park as low as possible. Of course, when you very first enter the park as well, before you can actually access the theme park, we'd also expect there to be temperature monitoring stations of all of the guests that are entering the park, and anyone obviously seen to have a high temperature would be turned away from the theme park, which is something obviously we've never seen before. Rides in the park which do operate, it is expected that riders will be staggered. Some of the rows might even be closed. Of course, some European parks have actually made face masks mandatory in the theme park, but there isn't actually at the moment any evidence that Merlin will do this. But obviously, we do expect that face masks will be made available throughout the park's actual shops and retail outfits. But yeah, in terms of when being loaded into rides, a lot of people have asked, how are they actually going to be able to get people securely loaded into rides without breaking the social distancing rules? Well, in European theme parks, they have actually come up with a method whereby the staff in the theme park just have basically a metal pole, and they that allows them to maintain the distance away from the ride while also still checking the harness. It's basically a pole with a hook on the end of it. I'll put an image of it on the screen at the moment, but that's what would be used in order to make sure that obviously riders are secured into the ride properly, and staff can still maintain that social distancing away from the riders. Now, of course, virtual queuing could also become mandatory in the park in order to help keep the queues down. This is, of course, bad news if you like to ride the same coaster several times, in a day. You probably wouldn't be able to do that with virtual queuing, but we are expecting, potentially to see this. It's not 100% confirmed. Obviously, at the very least, there will be social distance markers throughout the queue line. With the visitor numbers lower than normal anyway, you might not need to have virtual queuing, but it is something that's definitely been looked at by many theme parks, and it certainly is something that we could see at Alton Towers and certainly across the wider Merlin group as well. You know, looking at Merlin's other parks in the UK, it very much looks like they're all pretty much in the same situation, and we're expecting all of them to be open for the 4th of July, or at least that is how it's looking at the moment. Obviously there is absolutely no official confirmation of that. I'd like to make that perfectly clear, but it does look like that is the way. It looks like they're aiming for the 4th of July, but as I say, you'd have to keep up to date with their social media, you know, once they've got an actual official announcement on that. You know, certainly, you know, it's looking like that's going to be the case for Alton Towers, Thorpe Park and Chessington. You know, of course, other open outdoor attractions as well that are within the Merlin group in the UK. But yeah, you know, hopefully we will see the parks reopen, you know, before the end of the year. It certainly is looking like that's going to be the case with the new updates from the UK government. But as always, as we get more news and more updates, we'll be sure to keep the channel up to date. So if you do enjoy the video, if you do enjoy the content, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like as well. And I will see you in the next video.